Hey!
It's Carmel and Nola, and we are
Keeping it real. Yeah. She always says, yeah.
So what today we're going to look at is rejection.
Shot through the heart!
We're laughing, but actually, the absolute pain.
Man, rejection.
Rejection, I mean...
Did you ever think that person that you loved would reject you to such a degree? No. Like the person that you love the most hurts you, calls you everything under the sun, and then you think to yourself, oh my gosh, like, are they really rejecting me? Like, it's like you can't believe it. Like, I don't know how many times we've said that to each other.
You actually can't believe this is happening.
I can't believe it, right?
But also when someone's lying, you're like, I actually don't believe it. I just don't believe it.
No.
Yeah.
I think we've said that to each other. Like when I first met Carmel, I must have said it like about every 5 minutes in a sentence. Like, I just can't believe it. Like, I can't believe this is my life.
So I think like with rejection, before you can even reframe and think, you know, like there could be something positive and that you were rejected for a reason, you know, that is beneficial to you, or that you were rejected because you also might have rejected first, you know, like I say, it's not just rejection doesn't just come out the blue. But what was I saying? What was I saying?
Rejection. I don't know. It's kind of like, it's even now as I'm sitting here, I'm just thinking like I can actually feel the pain.
Oh no, I was just thinking, that's it. I would feel the rejection. I think feeling the pain is actually important because, you know, a lot of people just, like, we know people close to us who would just say, you know, get over it, or like hurry up, or like it's just a person or whatever, and actually you've got to feel
it. People blow it over in society, and especially in such an instantaneous society that we live in. It's like, oh, we'll move on. Oh, well, they're posting pictures of like happy families, so they must all be good, you know, like she looks happy. She's on the beach sipping pina coladas and looks happy, so she must be good, right? But actually that person is dying inside, and that's why I say we live in a society that is so falsely presented.
Yeah.
Like one thing is presented, but another thing in reality. It's like you scratch that surface off and you remove the filters, it's like a scab, you know, like that. You've hurt yourself, and that scab, you just need to like sometimes take that top layer off in order to get that pus out that is actually underneath that scab, but you don't really want to remove it because it's like painful. But in order to get healing, you actually have to take that off. You actually have to remove the hard calloused surface that is almost causing that infection underneath the surface, so that the new skin can actually come through. I know that's quite a graphic.
It's very graphic.
But you know, my son likes science.
And I'm like,
one that loves science. And
plus, thanks.
Yeah, and I was actually thinking of that image. It's like, you know, you fall, you hurt yourself, you've got this injury, but to actually sometimes you got to remove the surface and actually remove all that infestation. Yeah. And it's the same with the heart, you know. Only God knows the thoughts and the intents of a man's heart, not us. We can judge people, and we all do that. We're like, oh, well, what is she like, or what is that one doing? But actually, God knows the thoughts and the intents, and only God knows your heart and how deeply scarred you are. And it's literally coming before the Father and saying, God, here is my heart. Holy Spirit, you are the Parakletos. You're the one that comes alongside us. You're the one that surrounds us. And we ask you to fill this void of rejection, because it's like a void of rejection. And the fruit of the rejection, if you don't deal with it, then you reject others. And you might reject other people that are actually close to you.
And often, I mean, if you reject someone, you might have been rejected before, obviously. But if it all goes back again to often your parent relationships, like not to bring like psychology back, but how if you felt your parents rejected you, or they spoke bad words over you or something like that, you naturally have like a rejection to yourself.
Of rejection.
Yeah. And sometimes rejecting someone is actually a protection for yourself. And so if you are the person who's rejected, it's absolutely painful, especially if you think it shouldn't have been the case.
And actually that's what you did a lot of.
What?
can we just get vulnerable for 1 second?
Yeah.
Because I found like initially when our friendship like started up again, it was like when I met you, you've kept almost like everyone at like arm's length.
Yeah.
When you came back to South Africa, and it was our friendship started when I was at my darkest place.
She really was.
I just like recovered from a severe illness, nearly lost my smallest child at that stage. We both had meningitis, and Carmel would come around to my house and just like chat to me. But I used to think, wow, she's like so strong. But she was actually like encased in a shell of, so that other people wouldn't reject her. And even in relationships, like if you went out with somebody, I think you kept them at arm's length. You kept them at a healthy space.
Yeah.
Well, actually at an unhealthy space, because it was fear of rejection. So that fear of rejection can repeat itself over and over again at you. And I think this
self-sabotaging and stuff.
Whoa, self-sabotaging.
Yeah, so when you're trying to deal with it, and when I try to deal with it, and I don't know, but like you've got to try to identify the rejection from the attachment to that person and the rejection from the actual person. I think, you've got to see what was the attachment to that person. And again, then it brings up all other feelings of rejection from before, but you don't necessarily see that. It's just that same feeling of rejection. And people reject others because they've been rejected themselves. It's the same as like the person who is the worst in the room no one wants to be friends with. They're the ones who need love the most. It's the same kind of vibe. So I think the hardest thing in rejection is the battle of the mind. Your mind is, in Joyce Meyer's, I've been listening to a lot of her stuff.
Battlefields of the Mind. Yeah. Brilliant book by Joyce Myers.
And just how you have to speak things. And like we said in the other video, even psychologists, everyone says that you've got to, your cognition, your mind has to change before your emotions can change. So you've got to get to a place where you can actually have cognition. So when you first in the stages of rejection, there's no cognition. You're just literally crying and sleeping and taking tablets just to knock yourself out. But once you can actually start being cognizant, then you can start changing your mind. And that's when you've got to, again, replace truth with what is the feeling and the spirit of rejection. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I just want to get personal for a minute, because that spirit of rejection, it's like, how can someone, I battled with my husband rejecting me. I really loved him, and I thought, how can he not want to be with me? I think we almost have to get a bit vulnerable here.
Yeah.
It was hard for me, man. I was like, I'm beautiful.
And you are.
I'm amazing.
Stunning.
I'm like, what's wrong with you? My dad always spoke such affirmation over me. He was a great role model in my life, and he was so accepting of who I was, which was one of the greatest losses. He was like, no, you are so clever. I was in the G class. I am. I'm so clever. Am I, Dad? 100%. I'm so proud of you. You're so clever. I used to actually believe I could do anything. And I really wasn't that clever. But I believed it because he said, and then he used to say to me, you girls are beautiful.
Stunning.
So I used to swim at school, and they used to say, Nola, you like podgy. My surname was Honeyball, so they used to call me, they used to say, hey, you're a big fat ball of honey. And I used to say, yeah, I know, wouldn't you like to take a bite out of me? Because in my mind, my dad had given me such affirmation, and I was like, well, I'm curvy, so what's wrong with that, you know? And then
and you saw yourself in a certain way, and then suddenly
totally, I'd go to a party, I would dress up, I'd even go to youth, I'd I love fashion, I love a good thread, so I'd dress up, and then, hey, Mom, how do I look, Dad? You look amazing. Right, I go out. Then your husband, you meet them, they think you're great, but then SH1T happens, and then all of a sudden 20 years later that person that accepted you is now reject you. But the problem is your heart is so open to that person, and you love so deeply, and that's where the hurt comes in, man. And that hurt, that is deep hurt. You have to admit.
Rejection is the worst, especially
when you love someone
and you think that they are the person for you. So it's
get a bit vulnerable here.
oh, behave. No, you think they are the
Yeah.
person for you. You have had, I mean, you can choose what you believe, but you've had some words that they are the person for you, and you think all they have to do is step up and actually be that person, and then they will be the person for you, and then they don't do that, and then they reject you, and then it's like absolutely everything inside of you breaks, because then you start doubting everything, and you don't actually care about anything else in the world. Actually, you don't care about your work, you don't care about your eating, your family, your nothing. You don't care.
Survival of the fittest. Everybody fend for yourself. I'm trying to just survive.
Yeah, it's such a deep hurt. Like, so when you talk to someone and they say, well, you know, what do you enjoy doing? Like, they're trying to focus you on something. You don't care. You actually just don't care.
No, you don't.
You know, like, I don't care to travel. I don't care what work I do. I don't care if I lose my job. I don't care. It's the rejection, that feeling and that hurt is so deep that it consumes you, and it takes over your life, and it's so hard to get past that. And I think you've got to try to get past it every day, even once. It's like forgiveness, you know. You can forgive someone, you've got to forgive them
Daily.
the next day again. But like rejection,
Like the Lord's Prayer, daily.
but rejection, you just got to touch that there. Rejection is, for me, I've never been this broken.
Never.
And I think
that I've seen.
Yeah, I think I needed to get this broken in order to actually do something like this, because I think everybody who knows me knows I would just never do something like this.
And I wouldn't do the technical side of it. She just said, can I come sit with you? And I was like, sure.
I knew that Nola wasn't just going to come sit with me. But anyway, we laugh now, but meanwhile, we both cried so much. It's actually,
We have.
Yeah.
You.
In fact, I mean, I think I cried every day for 2.5 months, and then one day I was on the right medication, and and I literally was smiling like a Cheshire cat, and I saw Nola, and I was like, she was like, who are you? Like, what on earth is going on? Because I'd been crying.
Like crying. So we'd go to coffee and Carmel would sit like this.
I'd sit like that, or I'd just cry. Like, I couldn't stop myself. And other cry, like when it's just not appropriate, like gut cry, you know? And
then the one day we're sitting there all of a sudden, and then all of a sudden she went, I was like, she says, I said, what's happened? She says, the doctor's changed medication.
I clearly needed to be on different medication. They actually treated me for something else, which is was PTSD, and you would never think to be treated for that in this scenario that I was in.
Post-traumatic stress.
Yeah, disorder, and but because I couldn't stop shaking the whole time. I mean,
it's true. She was like literally shaking
all the time,
and having deep panic attacks,
and sleeping at night, and my mind was just coming in my mind all the time. It was like tormenting me,
which we prayed against actually, to take authority over that torment. A tormenting spirit that seeks to harass you, and again, you have to rise up in the Word of God and take authority over that torment where the devil comes to antagonize you, to rile you, to irritate you, especially when you're coming into that place of rest and relaxation.
You can't get out of it else.
Because your body, that's when it recoups and regenerates, is in a place of sleep as well.
Yeah. And so I think in your sleep, like, how do you get over rejection? You pray. You can put worship music on before you go to sleep, like you say.
But I think this also needs, I think this is part one of rejection, really.
Yeah.
Actually, we need to do another one of rejection.
But we won't do the spirit of rejection and all of that.
Yeah, I think because rejection is so prevalent in everybody's life. I mean,
so how one of the things that someone helped me do was, because your mind just doesn't stop. It doesn't stop, and you think of the absolute amazing life that this other person's living. Meanwhile, they actually probably aren't, but you are portraying it in your mind. Is to give your fears to God and ask Him for something in exchange. It's like a sozo thing. So you fear of that person never coming back, and then you sit and you wait and you ask God and the Holy Spirit to give you an image or a scripture or words or something. Remember, I had I did it straight away, and I got 5. Well, my fears were really easy to write down. But then I had to wait for the exchange. And I thought my exchanges were a little bit boring, because I was like, they're just scriptures. It's not like telling me what to do. Like, I needed to know like what practically to do. And I remember the psychologist saying, come on, you need to focus on yourself. And I was like, what must I do to focus on myself? Like, give me steps,
Yeah.
But actually that sozo thing and like giving your fear to God and asking him for something in return. I got images of things, the buckets of water by the well. I was like, why have I got a bucket of full water?
And this is where I have to actually stop to say again, where I admired Carmel is because she really took like pressing into the things of God on to a different level. So her relationship with the Lord is there and intermittent and a daily type of thing, but I have to give it to her. She really started to seek the purposes of God again for her life in a deeper way, because out of the rejection she sought God and not a substance. Yes, she's on medication, but it's so easy for us to turn to other things.
Other people who distract us.
And that's the thing where addictions come in, because you can turn to other people where you just want to
have your ego stroked, don't have to think about things.
100%. Alcohol addiction, drug addiction.
That also just numbs it all. So you don't have to deal.
In South Africa now, because a lot of the people, even clients of mine, people I come across, it's like, oh, we'll smoke a joint, a bit of weed, it will take the edge off. Again, it's such deception, because you're just layering it with like, well, we need to really get to the crux of it. And I know this is a debatable thing because it's been legalized in South Africa, but I truly have seen where people start to take, say, light drugs, say, like weed, and it's all good, and take an edible. I've yet to see one person where it hasn't led to another addiction, where the weed will start and then it will like, okay, well, let's take an ecstasy tablet. Well, let's do a line of coke. Well, you know what? This weekend, I'm really going to hit it hard because, man, I've had a terrible week. And my work's falling apart. There's nothing seems to be going for me. And you can actually, in your mind, spiral downward as opposed to spiral upward. But you can testify to how much work it actually takes to spiral upward. Oh, my gosh.
It's so hard. And I must just say, I think the anxiety around it, I was saying to someone, that anxiety is so overwhelming that you either move forward because of love or because of getting out of pain, that you'll do anything not to feel that anxiety. So you'll if you need to sleep with someone, you'll do it. If you need to take drugs, you'll do it. Whatever you need to do not to feel that, you'll do it. And it's so hard to actually do the work and go through it yourself. And that's what when I was sitting at the psychologist, I said, I can understand why people do what they do. I can't bear being in this place anymore,
Pain.
The pain is so great.
And that's why we have so many girls, especially and boys, in fact, cutting themselves in order to feel other pain as opposed to heart pain. One of the terms that the young guys use, especially when I'm dealing with people in my profession, they say, to get over one girl, just get under another. And that's the honest truth, how people live. So it's the reality. You look for another scapegoat instead of becoming vulnerable in your life and then actually saying, okay, God, how can you build me from this place of brokenness? And that's really what we're actually doing here today.
Yeah.
It's coming to you in a place where it's saying, we are far from perfect. We are shattered, but with God, all things are possible. And so that's what I'm saying to you today. And that's why I have enjoyed our friendship, because Carmel is vulnerable, but I have admired the place that she has put herself in, this place of vulnerability, to push forward into the things of God. And that's what I can encourage you to do. So, drop us a comment.
Wait, before we do that, I think another thing just to say is, rejection is harder than death. Remember we were talking about, if someone dies, you can grieve them, but they didn't choose not to be with you. So it can be really, really hard. So it already comes down to, I don't know how people without God actually deal with this, to be honest. But it all comes down to trusting that God has got something better for you, or that it's not his timing, or that there was something people were doing and saying behind your back, and he was seeing all of that and you weren't seeing that. And so, that's, you've got to just trust that and some people say trust in the universe, but we would say you trust in God, that there's a reason for it. And I don't know if do you want to pray now so people can.
We can.
Well, or just
You know what? I'd like you to drop us a DM as to how you feel about this topic of conversation, or little comments of what you feel. What has been your battle? In terms of what is your hardest thing, that when a person has rejected you, what have you turned to? And how have you overcome that rejection? So, and then I'd like to pick up maybe another part of this.
If people are asking questions, then we can talk about that. Okay.
She's looking at me, I know.
Okay, I thought she was going to have a little prayer, but all right, we'll end it there. All right, cheers. Bye.